everybody, this is Steve. I'm with FrSky, and today we're going to talk about flaps and a simplified method of setting up flaps. In order to do this, what I'm going to do is take you into the model creation wizard, show you briefly how I set up flaps. Then I'll take you to the mixer, show you where you can find your flaps and how to edit. We're going to go inside, we're going to assign a switch to the flaps. And then I'm going to show you how to slow the flaps down when they get deployed and slow them down when they come back up again. Okay, so first things first, let's get into this. Before I actually get into it, I should just mention that there's many great flap videos on Ethos. I know of a couple. This is the simplified solution. This is the default solution for the Ethos transmitter, and I found no videos on this whatsoever, so I decided to make this video. Alright, so as it starts to disappear, let's bring it back, and we're going to talk about setting up a model. This is, I should show you, I set up this model already. It was for an HSD 182, it's a Cessna by HSD Jets, a really cool plane. I wanted to show you how I set up this model. I went into models right here by pressing this on the radio, or I could press that the same way. Try it this way. Go into models, select, go into the plus button right there, set up an airplane, one channel because it had one engine or motor on it, two channels for ailerons, and it does have flaps, so I'm using two flaps right there. Alright, so when I hit next, it asks me some other things. Let me just take you to what it looks like when we're done. I'm going to take you to some other part of this model menu. We went to model select before. This time we're going to mixer. Mixers are pretty simple when it comes to RC. Essentially, this is telling what source. So these are stick movements right here. Aileron, elevator, these are your right sticks, and throttle, rudder, your left sticks. This order A, E, T, R is default from FrSky. When you set up a new model, that's the order everything comes in. You can change it to something else like T, A, E, R for throttle, ailerons, elevator, rudder, in Ethos. But for now, we're just going to work with this. What you might notice is that the last two channels used are channels 6 and 7, and they were assigned to flaps. But lo and behold, there is no source for the flaps. So what that means is nothing on the transmitter is activating the flaps currently. And we're going to change that. As I mentioned before, we're going to use a switch. So in order to do this, we have to get into this. You can do that by pressing once and pressing again and selecting edit. All we're going to do is I'm going to assign switch D. So let me go back here because people say I moved too quickly. You click on input once, and then what you do is flip the switch you want to use. In my case, it's switch D. Hit return and go back. You'll see that I should be going back. Here we go. And we have a source, switch D. So what this is showing right here is that the flaps are half deployed. So they're half down. When I press switch D again, it quickly moves to full flaps, quickly moves back to half flaps, and then quickly moves the flaps up. The problem with being able to move so quickly is that if you're flying something like a nice plane and you want to come in for landing and you flip the switch down, switch D all the way to full flaps, that might come down in less than a second, and your plane's going to balloon up and potentially can crash. So what I want to work on next is slowing that down. So if I were to long press on this time, it's the same as going through that whole dance to get into the edit menu. The only thing I'm going to change is this. Now, what this term means assumes that slow up means things are going upwards, such as perhaps your aileron or your elevator. But when you're working with flaps, up is down and down is up. So, because it's on the bottom of the plane. So when we want to say slow up, it's the same thing as slow down. I like to use about 1.5 seconds. And the reason I like this is because by the time, if you're going from no flaps to full flaps, it will take about 3 seconds to do it. Hit return for down. Down means up, means that it's going back to a position where like it's going to go back to flaps up. I'm going to use 0.7 seconds. Okay. And what you'll see is when I go down to here, well, I didn't work right. Check that out. Oh, look at that. What you do is you go back in here and just move this down to. This is the problem when you get to work with a transmitter that's on your computer. This is a virtual transmitter. The actual FrSky transmitter works so much better than the simulator does on my computer. Anyway, this will show you this. So keep in mind on the left here, the right here, we're looking at flaps that are up. And then what I'm going to do is give it 1.5 seconds. I'll do control. I'm moving them now. It's 1.5 seconds to go from flaps up to flaps half deployed, and then I'm going to move them again. That's another 1.5 seconds to go from flaps half deployed to fully deployed. And you'll see how much faster they move now when they go up. Ooh, speed of light practically. And that's all there is to it. If you do have questions, feel free to contact me, Steve at FrSky -rc.com. Thanks for watching.